Kara and myself wanted to do a little video on the challenges of raising a Canine Corso. One of the big challenges is to keep them out of your face from kissing you. Bruce wants to love me. One of the challenges is not getting the tongue in your mouth. And accomplishing anything throughout the day because these dogs just want to love you all the time. Everybody sees this, right? They see this loving, majestic, beautiful creature. And a lot of people just buy a dog off of looks and what they see on the surface. They don't see what comes behind everything, which is why once Bruce Wayne stops loving me, yeah, buddy, I love you too. We're gonna go over the challenges of raising these guys. I know, dude, you're making this. Yeah, I love you. Yeah, I love you. It's a beautiful day here in northern New York, so we decided we would do this outside. A few challenges people face when raising their dog is within themselves, and it's lack of time because they don't realize how much time it takes raising a Canine Corso or any dog in that fact. Lack of discipline, where they're extremely consistent and militant on their corrections and praises, not letting the dog get away with anything. And being too soft. Think of positive only. And when we train our dogs, it's like 90–95% positive. But I always like to say, if there's no up, there's no down. So if everything's positive, that's your baseline. They need negative to have positive. And negative doesn't mean harsh. It doesn't mean beating your dog, hurting your dog, mentally hurting your dog. That's not what it means. But you have to discipline your dog. Ooh, there's a big vulture right there, which is why, if you guys haven't watched the video, Justice Sees It, on how Justice killed a baby, check that out. You'll see why I put that where I did, so the vultures don't get the live ones. So we're gonna break this down into puppyhood, adolescence, adulthood, and then their aging years. Bruce isn't a senior yet, but he's definitely hitting it, so you have to manage things different. One of the big challenges when you get a puppy Canine Corso is just your own time, because puppies take more time than an adult dog he's in adolescent stage still right now, he's fully mature. They take less time because they're trained, they understand the world. So one huge time constraint, or one huge thing in your time, is socialization. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, that took all of our time,
it did.
Literally.
So for the first 12 weeks of your dog's life is that crucial imprint stage where socialization, they should meet like 500 people. Each of these guys probably meant 1,000. You should be having them around a bunch of different sounds, a bunch of different animals. And just desensitizing them, that's essentially what socialization is desensitizing your dog to the world. So they understand right from wrong. They're a guardian breed. At some point, your puppy is going to get those guardian instincts. They can't think your neighbor next door who comes over to say hi to you is a threat and goes and lunges after them and attacks them. So you're essentially desensitizing them to the world, letting them know that 99% of the things they come in contact with are nice, are friendly, are happy. And the time it takes is you have to be committed beforehand to put in that time, because there's no way around it. It takes time to get out of your house. It takes time to take your dog to Lowe's, to take your dog to Joanne's Fabric like we did the other day to socialize them, to take them out in public parks and walking them.
It didn't matter how tired we were either. We both worked 9 to 5s at the point in time that we had these dogs, and rain or shine did not matter. It was a point that we made to get out and take these guys wherever we could and different places, regardless of how tired we were or how much we didn't want to. We both felt that those first 12 weeks in particular are so crucial for their socializing. Yep. But most people are not willing to do what we have done with these dogs.
Agree. And another challenge when raising a puppy is all puppies, they're curious. Bruce Wayne was a little shit.
Oh my gosh, was he ever?
Way worse than Justice. But Justice had another dog of the same breed to look at as like, oh, I should follow his lead. Right. Bruce didn't have that. I don't know how many times we'd literally just go to the bathroom for 30 seconds, come out of the bathroom, and Bruce Wayne has the curtains ripped off the wall and he's in his mouth just wiggling his tail like, what's up guys? I got your curtains.
Remember the one morning, like, I think I left him in the bathroom and like I came back and the toilet paper looked like he teepeed the entire bathroom.
Yes. So that's another huge challenge is with any puppy, they're curious. So guys, crate train your puppy. Yeah. It can go so far because if you don't have eyes on your puppy, you should put them in a crate. At night, you should be crating them. If you never know when an emergency is gonna come up and you have to leave your dog somewhere, so crate training them goes far and they end up loving their crate. Another challenge I see is not so much it wasn't with Justice because you know, Kara raised Bruce Wayne, so she's already been through the process, but giving your dog the life they're going to live after you get that dog. Now what I mean by that is when we got Bruce, Kara wanted to take 2 weeks off of work. I'm like, no way. We are literally removing him from his parents, from the life he knows, giving him a new life, to now what? To where she's home for 2 weeks straight, and he expects that to be his life, and then flip-flop it again and just completely change that life.
True.
So I always tell people just to, when you get a puppy, live your life with that puppy how you want them to be for life. Sure, it's going to have a transition period where they're going to be crying all the time at night for a few nights, or even a week. But that's another challenge. A lot of people just give into their puppy so much and treat them like a baby, not like a dog.
Right, and you have to understand everything you do, especially in those formative weeks, if you will, those
when the
first
brain's
12 weeks.
developing, right?
So if you're like, oh man, my puppy's crying at night, I'm just gonna bring the puppy in bed with me, or I'm gonna bring the puppy in the bedroom with me. Okay, just own that decision if you choose it, because the likelihood is that's the habit you'll then have created for the long term with that dog.
Yep.
Don't put that dog in bed with you those first few weeks if you don't want them sleeping with you the rest of their lives, or giving you a deal about it when you don't.
Yes, exactly. And just, being disciplined all through your praising. If your puppy sits in front of you or sits politely, when they come up to you, praise them for sitting there politely. We do that with Justice to this day. He comes in the kitchen, he'll sit there all proud, look at us, and it's like, good boy.
Right.
You have to be mindful of every interaction with your dog, especially as the puppy. Every interaction with your dog, you're training them. You're training them to behave in a manner you want them to behave in, or in a manner you don't want them to behave in, without even realizing it.
Going off of what you said with puppyhood, and just, you really need to keep all eyes on your dogs, and why that's even more so challenging with a Cane Corso versus a Chihuahua or a small dog. You have to remember what these dogs are going to grow into. So once again, if you are not on it with your leadership, with watching their every move, with correcting things as you need to while they're small and tiny, then wait until they are the size of Bruce Wayne and Joey Justice, where their face reaches the dining table, like the dining room table, and reaches your food and has access to everything that maybe not normal sized dogs can reach. So you have to think proactively about that end game with the dog that you're creating. And it can be hard, because for me, my biggest challenge with puppyhood training, at least with Bruce, that balance of not being too soft and giving them that firm leadership when they needed it, to make sure that they're who you guys see on the channel now.
Yes. I would say adolescence is normally the hardest part.
Right.
Justice was way easier.
So
is
different.
way easier
So
through
easy.
Adolescence than Bruce.
Right.
You'd call Bruce Wayne in, he wouldn't want to come in.
Yeah.
You'd go to grab him, you'd be out here for like 30 minutes.
Digging holes,
running around. He was a little Spitfire, and Justice is still a Spitfire, but Justice just he didn't go through all these adolescence phases like Bruce did. He's got his own challenges, but it was different than Bruce.
Yeah.
So adolescence hits, one huge issue is, sometimes it feels like all the training you put in, you have a puppy and it's like, my puppy's sitting, my puppy's coming to me when I recall them. Like sometimes it just goes away. Like,
overnight.
Did you just forget everything I taught you, dude?
Right.
But it's them challenging you.
Yeah.
So that's where a big challenge comes in with raising a Cane Corso, is you have to stay calm, you have to stay patient, which is hard for everyone, and kind of be emotionless almost. If your dog doesn't recall you, sitting there screaming at your dog, they're not going to want to come to you. So it's just going to make the situation worse, right?
It's so true. I remember Bruce being an adolescent, and I lose sight of how spicy he was as an adolescent, because he's just like you see him now. I lose touch of that. But I remember before work one morning, I was trying to get ready for work and keep eyes on him, and he was just getting into everything. Yeah. And I remember I broke down in tears.
She texted me
I
crying.
became so emotional over it, crying like this dog, won't stop. He won't listen to me. And it was the energy that I was giving off. I was rushing, I was stressed, I was spreading myself thin.
Which is making him more stressed.
Which was making him more anxious, So like, it really does make a difference, the energy and the emotions that you put off, whether you're happy at the dog, sad at the dog, angry at the dog, keeping that level, especially during adolescence, can sometimes make all the difference.
Absolutely agree. It's like I'm taking over my mom's spot this time.
I don't want you on my lap.
Another challenge with an adolescent and even a puppy is just controlling their exercise. You know, they don't really have full range of exercise until those growth plates are closed, which is every dog within a breed is going to be different, you know, so 18 months plus, I would say. And I know you guys want to go out and do things with your dog. You want to have experiences with your dog, have fun with your dog. Dude, this way, can't be in my face. And it can be challenging on yourself not to overdo it on your puppy. Exercising them, but not exercising them too much where you're going to do long-term joint damage. Bruce Wayne's Whole Life and Joey Justice, we have them on a certain joint supplement. I'll leave that linked in the description box below. I am an affiliate with them, but I just became an affiliate a year and a half ago. We've been using them for over 7 years. And we just stay in auto ship. That way we always have that joint supplement, which they get every single day. We even give them a multivitamin.
Yep.
This is like, I'm just getting like
You're
dog
getting
all
all
over
the
me.
love.
And just like puppyhood, socialization, you gotta be socializing these guys for life. You don't have to do as much when they're an adult as you do when they're like 9, 10 weeks old, but you still have to get them out and socialize them because socializing is a skill. If you stop socializing your dog, they start losing that skill. So always for life, that's one of the challenges for some people is getting out in the world with your dog. But it's a must, especially with one of these breeds. You have to take extra responsibility when you have any guardian breed and a dog this size that can hurt someone.
I would say another, maybe the biggest challenge with adolescence with Cane Corsos is you still have to fulfill that mental stimulation within them. And at adolescence, they are just wanting to do everything and get into everything. You know, and you
Justice
have to somehow,
is so curious still.
He's so curious still.
He's 2.5 and he's still a puppy.
Yeah, so
that's where his challenging part
you
comes
have
in.
to find creative ways to really figure out how to mentally tire them out while keeping in mind like the joint health and not doing it just via over exercising. So a simple example here is sometimes it was just doing drills in the house with Bruce as a puppy, or even Justice. I'd get home from work, it's dark out, it's cold out. I can't just go walk them 3 miles. And that doesn't always mentally stimulate them as much anyways. But if I said, I'm in charge and you're gonna follow me around the house and we're gonna do some weird drills around the house that they're not used to, they would immediately, 1, look to me more as the leader for the rest of the night, and 2, be more satisfied. Energy was more calm and more stable throughout the rest of the night, regardless of having a 3-hour nap or regardless of being in their crate all day or going for a walk. It didn't matter. Those little drills was just something simple that would mentally help them a lot, which in adolescence is a lot.
Absolutely. Then adulthood, that's probably the easiest part.
I love adult dogs.
Adult dogs are just so easy, guys.
If you do all the work through puppyhood and adolescence.
Yes, if you do everything right when they're growing up, like they are just so easy to live with.
Yeah.
You know?
They're great. I like living with these two more than Jason.
Don't blame me, I'm cranky half the time with my pain management levels. So adulthood, same thing as adolescence. You gotta be socializing them, you gotta be exercising them. And we're gonna go over just some overall challenges at the end that isn't stage specific.
Yeah.
And then Bruce isn't a senior yet, but he's hitting there, and he had a lot of health issues last year. He's doing great right now, by the way, guys. So this is a challenge is keeping him exercising without overdoing it. And we have a younger dog that exercises at a much different level.
Bubby.
So we found with Bruce and Justice, getting them on that 3-mile walk every single day has we've been doing it almost every day, and his gait, his pain management has just diminished so much, especially after he got the cysteine stones taken care of. Justice needs more than Bruce.
Just a second, I just got a tongue in my mouth.
2 completely different exercise abilities right now. That we've been taking the dog swimming. Justice will swim 10 times longer than Bruce, but I noticed Bruce is loving it so much and it's really helping his back end. So with senior dogs, especially in a few years when he is a senior, or even in a couple years when he's a senior, he's gonna slow down more, and he's a big, heavy dog, so we may have to help him get up. You know, he may have to wear a harness when he gets really, really old so we can help him stand up. And you're gonna want a ramp for your dog. You're gonna really, really wanna put a lot of care into your dog when they're older to prevent injuries, to prevent anything like that could happen, which, let's be real, if your dog suffers a ACL tear at a senior citizen age, it's gonna slow them down longer, and movement is key to life. The more you can keep moving, the longer you're gonna be around. So you don't wanna like diminish that movement at all. Now, overall challenges are A, the cost, And I have multiple videos on the cost of owning a Canine Corso, the cost of owning 2 Canine Corsos, and you have to use those as a grain of salt because you don't have to do everything we do, you know? One of those videos I covered the cost of putting in our fence because we literally put it in for a dog. Some people already have a fence, some people don't want a fence. Okay, you can take out that cost. We feed them raw. You may not want to feed your dog raw. That's going to save a ton of money.
Right.
We go through about 10 pounds of meat a day on average, 8 to 10 pounds. That's a very large expense.
All the vet costs.
All the vet costs. Your dog's bigger. You have a giant breed dog. It's going to cost you more. Pet insurance is going to cost more.
And you can't just think about it at the puppyhood stage of life, which I think more people are. How much is this initial cost going to cost me? But how about when your dog is throughout the years of 8 to 12 years old and they start to need medication, they start to need routine visits, they start to possibly need surgeries.
Yep.
All of that is extraordinarily more expensive with a large breed dog.
And I know pet insurance is expensive month to month, but I cannot urge you guys enough. Don't rely on begging people for GoFundMe if something happens to your dog. Everybody has the option of getting pet insurance, and it can literally save you tens of thousands of dollars. Even if you don't have a senior citizen dog. Let's say your dog gets hit by a car. That bill could be $40,000 to save your dog.
Right.
Now you're sitting here with, I don't have $40,000 to pay for surgery, so I put down my dog, or I just put myself in debt for years and years and years.
Right.
It's just things to think about. So just try to make sure you're in a financially good spot before you get a giant breed dog, because when we got Bruce, we kind of figured out the cost, but man, it's even way higher than I was expecting it was going to be. Another challenge is if you stop being the leader, your dog is going to take over that leadership position. Now you have a 140 plus pound dog, a 155 pound dog that thinks they're in charge, making decisions for you versus making decisions for them. It can lead to aggression issues. It could lead to overly protecting you issues. It could lead to resource guarding issues, destructive behavior, anxiety. All of these things, when you're talking a dog of this size, can become very, very dangerous. So you always have to make sure you're the leader. You always have to make sure you're following through on your commands. You know, if you tell your dog to come and it's 20 feet away and it doesn't come, don't keep repeating the same command because you're just emphasizing that nothing's going to happen if you don't follow this command. Go over, grab the dog by the scruff, and walk them back to where you just recalled them from. Justice, lay down.
Can I get 1 second here?
Good boy.
Go over and grab them, and Bruce grab both me in.
He's like, Dad said grab you. Grab the dog by the scruff and walk them back to where you just recalled them from.
Another thing that comes along with leadership is maintaining that pack hierarchy throughout the entirety of their life. And so we have 2 dogs, but even if you just had 1 dog, for instance, we still maintain that hierarchy. So how that looks, for an example, is going out the door in the morning. You know, Jason is the leader, so essentially he would go out first, I would go out second, Bruce would go out last. So we maintain that hierarchy in terms of who goes in and out of the doors, who gets fed first at nighttime, for instance. I eat dinner before I feed him dinner.
And actually, Justice goes out last.
And Justice goes out last. So with 2 dogs, for instance, he's the last, he's the lowest on the pecking list. It's not mean, it's not sad.
It's not because I'm the guy.
Poor Justice.
It's not because I'm the man.
It's not because he's the man. It's the hierarchy that was established from the start of
training.
From training. When we got Bruce Wayne, first and foremost, Jason learned and knew the training tactics. I let him do them, execute them perfectly. He trained them to me, and then I executed them. So there's got to be some hierarchy. It would be confusing to the dog if we were both trying to actively do it at the same time.
Yep.
So don't fight against hierarchy. It'll make your life easier throughout all stages of their life, and just keep maintaining that throughout their lives.
And that's a couple challenges here. Even your kids need to be above the dog. So everybody in the house should be training the Canine Corso. And like she said, I would do it first. I would teach her how I did it, and she would try to mimic me. Obviously, her voice is way higher pitched than mine, but she would try to deepen her tone because it's the way they understood it. She tried to mimic my posture, my hand gestures, because dogs recognize hand gestures, your gait, your tonality, all those things. And that can be a challenge to match the other person. And it can also be a challenge if the whole family is on board, getting the spouse to listen. I see it both ways. I'll get women DMing me, I'm doing everything perfect, the dog listens to me, but my husband just thinks it's no big deal and doing whatever. And vice versa. The husband will be like, yeah, I'm doing everything right, dog's great with me, but my wife and kids, they just think they can let the dog do whatever. And it just creates this huge, massive confusion in a dog.
Right.
Remember, your dog's smart, yes, but they're not human smart.
Right.
So we try to dumb things down for them to make that communication easier for them.
Right.
You know?
You may have to also you may have to go back to hierarchy and reestablish it at periods of time. This reminds me of when Bruce Wayne was in the hospital for 4 days. He was gone when he had surgery.
Yep.
And
4
it
or
was
5.
really interesting how quick I felt like I saw the change in JJ, stepping up, being more attentive to things that normally he would let Bruce take care of. And so when we brought Bruce back home, we kind of had
There's a weird tension.
there was like a weird thing going on there where he was like, wait, I thought I'm in charge now? Who's in charge? So we had to kind of get back to that hierarchy. Like, no, thank you for taking the lead for a minute, bro, but he's actually the leader.
Yep. And it took about maybe 3-4 days, and
So-
everything is back to normal. But you could definitely, it was a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
It was like a tension. You could tell when they'd walk, they were like almost stiffer by each other, which obviously
Right.
is a sign of, okay, this isn't normal energy.
Yeah.
And we would just like, if they're walking past each other and not even looking at each other, but walking stiff, I'd just be like, hey, like just snap them out of it just like that.
Yep.
You know, I'd rather be wrong
Correct.
versus miss it and then something
Exactly.
happens.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that was another challenge. That was a very good point. We've never discussed that
That
on
was
YouTube, I
something
don't think.
interesting where I think sometimes hierarchy, you may have to kind of, things could get switched there, rightfully so.
Yeah, and-
he was
and-
doing nothing wrong by taking the lead.
And they may allow the hierarchy to switch when he is a senior citizen
Right.
and he is like,
Right.
5 years old. He just make, all right, bro, you have at it,
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like you can't force that. So even if you got a puppy and you've had another dog that's around forever, you can't force a hierarchy. You kind of have to let them tell you the hierarchy, and then you have to stick to it and be very disciplined
Right.
with it.
It just reminds me of one thing where, like, as Jason mentioned, he'd rather be wrong and correct something than miss it. And he just has this intuition with seeing things before they happen. And so I think he's always done a good job at being able to stop things before they happen if they were going to. And I want you guys to comment below if you'd want to see a video on Jason discussing some of the things that you're likely missing, these signs that you could be seeing in your dogs
That's a good one.
if you have multiple dogs, to prevent issues, because I've learned a lot from him, because I like to live in my little bubble and that doesn't work with guard dogs. That's a challenge. You have to have eyes all over you watching all the dogs and being ahead of it. So I think it'd be a good video for you to do.
I can do that if they want it.
Let us know.
I know another challenge for some
Okay.
people is coddling. It's not for me. I can turn very flat and shut off my emotions. And then sometimes I'm like, Kara, stop coddling the dogs. They don't need to be loved up on. They did nothing. You shouldn't be loving up on them. And then she gets a little annoyed. She feels some kind of way without telling me, but I know she's feeling some kind of way.
I feel called out, but it's true.
But then she stops doing that. And I usually will do this if they aren't as responsive to her
If
as
you
normal.
notice they're not as responsive to me, right?
And then guess what happens within 2 days?
They turn it around.
They completely turn around like,
Literally within 24 hours. That trick has always worked because I've always had a softer side to me when it comes to leadership with my dogs, and the level of me wanting to, just love on them like my children, but remembering they're still dogs and they still need appropriate leadership. So sometimes it's a fine line for me. And anytime Jason calls me out on that and I readjust, it turns right back around. So this is where, you are going to be challenged throughout the duration of your life, especially with this breed. But if you are open and willing and able to be a strong leader, then
that's another thing.
It
Be
can
open with
work.
your spouse in all areas of life, but like how you're treating the dogs.
yeah.
Because I feel like you kind of get annoyed when I tell you that.
I might get a little annoyed, but I don't really, I never like to be told I'm doing anything not perfect, to be honest. So it's not related to you.
I'm far from perfect.
It's a me thing, being able to take feedback. So if you're able to be open and take that feedback, which I do, and readjust, it's good.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I'm far from perfect.
but it definitely,
I'm wrong every day.
It definitely could lead to challenges within a relationship. Like you mentioned, if you're not on the same page with your partner about how you're going to manage a dog like a Cane Corso and how your kids are going to interact, then
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody should be on board. I know a lot of people DM me about help with dog training, and I try to help people with some advice, but I don't like to give blanket statements. A lot of times it could be aggression issues, and that's always a tough one. So what I always ultimately think people should do is not send your dog to board and train. Board and train is for a very specific thing because you're having somebody else train your dog, so they're seeing that person as a leader, not you. So if you want to be the leader to your dog, so you have this relationship with your dog, so you have this perfect canine companionship with your dog, so you have a loving dog, a dog that's responsive, not tearing up the house, that's not annoying to live with.
Right.
Right? I have courses linked in the description. If you're getting a puppy, I suggest going through the perfect puppy course, followed by the perfect canine companion course. If you want to feed raw, we have a raw feeding course, or you can just get the Ultimate Breed Cane Corso bundle, which is a course specifically on the breed, plus the perfect puppy, plus the perfect canine companionship, plus the raw Food Masterclass. That'll save you money. But learning and educating yourself is going to be far better than sending your dog off to board and train, because you're being, essentially, I'm calling you out, you're being too lazy. You're not taking charge. If that's your plan, you probably shouldn't have a guard dog because there's too many liabilities to it. So educate yourself, get the courses, learn online, just watch a bunch of videos. It doesn't matter, but just do your research and education before you get the dog, because it's much easier to train a dog, especially like this, you don't want to make mistakes, to train a dog proper versus inadvertently training them wrong and kind of screwing things up. Now you have to untrain the bad behavior to retrain the good behavior, and it's just difficult. And I know everybody just wants this like loving relationship with their dogs.
Jason and I aren't normal people. Maybe that's another challenge. You have to understand when you watch these videos and see how amazing Bruce Wayne and Joey Justice are, it kind of comes down to Jason and I being outstanding leaders and running a tight ship in the household. And I go back to, most people are not willing to be that disciplined.
That's the thing.
So,
we're just disciplined people. Like, I can feel horrible. I can be sick. As long as I'm not contagious, I'm still going to the gym. I've been like lifting weights for like 15, 16 years now. I probably missed, what, 10 lifting sessions out of all those years. I just do it. If it hurts, it doesn't matter. If I don't feel good, it doesn't matter. It's like, you just gotta be disciplined with everything in life. Your dog's training, your praising, your corrections. Like, I don't let anything slide. She'll attest to this, I'm very hard on myself.
Yeah.
I am very hard on myself because I set my own standards high.
Same.
I'm not trying to impress anyone, I'm trying to impress myself.
Same.
You know, I don't care if Joe Schmo's impressed by me or if they hate me.
Right.
As long as I feel good and I feel like I'm putting in full effort. And I decided that I wanted a relationship like this with our dog before we got him, which is why they are both so well, because I already put it in my mind. I'm like, we're gonna do everything to a T, what I personally feel, what she personally feels will be a success for us.
Right. And I was just scared out of my mind to get this breed, so I encourage you to be a little bit scared before you get a guard dog.
Yeah, it definitely made you take it more serious.
Because a lot of people don't take it seriously enough, and so a little bit of fear isn't a bad thing, because for me,
fear keeps you alive.
Being a little bit fearful of the potential these dogs could have to hurt someone made me take everything to a T with the training that we did. And to this day, even though Bruce is 7 years old, we don't stop with socializing him, because we change over time in different stages of lives. He's going to react differently to people and puppies today than he did when he was 3 years old. You have to keep doing this for the long term. So it's a challenge with this breed. You can't just sit back ever. So make sure that you're really able to do all this.
And there's nothing wrong if you really want this breed, but you're not ready. Be honest with yourself, guys. Just be honest. With getting any dog, are you ready to have a dog right now? And if not, no big deal. If your time in your life isn't like where you have enough time, there'll be time down the road. The breed's not going anywhere. Whatever breed you want's not going anywhere. If you're not financially stable, that's fine too. You're going to be financially stable in the future. You know, all you got to do is just wait it out and then make it happen. Just don't rush it.
Just have a little self-awareness before you enter into Cane Corso ownership.
Yep, any guard breed, any dog in general, but especially a dog that can hurt someone else, because we don't want to give them bad rap. Is that it?
Yeah, these dogs are chilling under the shaded deck now. They're too hot.
All right, guys, until next time, Bruce Wayne behind the camera, Joey Justice behind the camera, myself, and Kara Corey. We'll see you later. Peace. Let me show them where they are. They had to get in the shade. They had to get in the shade. Here's Bruce Wayne. Here's Bruce Wayne in the shade. Let me brighten you up, bro. There you are, hiding behind the thing. And there's Joey Justice. Peace, guys.